at Bringhurst, August 30, 2001. I'm interviewing Janet Pessagno. And Janet, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself, about when you were born in this area. It wasn't Fremont then. Talk about that and a little bit about your family.
I was born 59 years ago, soon to be 60, and I lived, born and raised in the Niles area.
Janet Pessagno was born on November 2nd, 1941. She was the mother of 3 children, my father Tony being one of them, which made Nana Janet my grandmother. Just after her 60th birthday, she was diagnosed with cancer in December of 2001, only 3 months after I was born. Nana Janet endured difficult cancer treatments, including radiation and chemotherapy. She experienced tremendous suffering due to the chemotherapy. The treatment had a very negative impact on her body, to where it became difficult for her to walk, and she lost a large percentage of her mobility. In addition, Nana had terrible trouble sleeping and lost all of her hair. There were several instances where she was hospitalized due to trouble with breathing, and ultimately she had to spend the last 2 months of her life in intensive care at Washington Hospital.
That we look upon should tumble.
Nana Janet was a member of the Sisters of the Holy Family, an order of nuns. Although she was dealing with a tremendous amount of suffering, she confided in one of her closest nun friends that mentally she had beaten cancer, and she had refused to let cancer destroy her spirit and her mental capacity. My grandmother is an absolute inspiration by facing death head-on with strength and the determination to battle until the end. Unfortunately, her battle lasted 2 years and came to an end when she passed in October of 2003. I was only 2 years old when she died, and I missed out on knowing such a beautiful and powerful woman. I have no recollection of any memories including her and me, but I feel like I do from the numerous stories I always hear about her. Although Nana Janet is dead, her vibrant spirit and memory are still alive through the stories preserved by my family. My love of organizing events and having an overall powerful energy is an aura that I inherited from Nana Janet. She lives within me and acts as my guardian angel. My family holds the strong belief that all of our ancestors are watching over us. Perhaps this helped Job with his patience as it helped Nana Janet with her perseverance. She knew her ancestors were looking out for her, and she looked forward to being reunited with her father, Nana Jean, in heaven.
Oh, stand by me, whenever you're in trouble, won't you stand by me? Oh,
My grandmother's religious values have a pivotal role in influencing my current beliefs. As I am gradually maturing, I would consider myself to be in between my adolescent and adult faith. My faith once led me to believe that God is only transcendent because He is beyond the world and does not always intervene when we want Him to. Bernie Heron, from the 9/11 documentary Faith and Doubt at Ground Zero, said, "There were a lot more people who could have been killed. He was fighting evil that day, like He does every day." I believe that throughout Nana's suffering, God was present and fighting evil, but ultimately did not save her life. After listening to how my grandmother dealt with suffering and what role God played in her experience, I believe that God is immanent. He is participating in the world, although He may not necessarily be working in the way I want Him to. His will is at work millions of other ways. I see God in the midst of Nana Janet's suffering because she felt like she defeated cancer and she was at peace. Nana Janet was prepared to move on to an afterlife, and God played a pivotal role in giving her the will to battle her illness. Although God did not save her physically, emotionally she had kicked cancer's butt with the strength God's presence gave her. Kim Coleman also spoke about her experience with God during 9/11. She believed God knew that her daughter was suffering more than Kim knew about, and since God knows best, He took her life. Similar to Kim's belief, my grandmother communicated with God through the power of prayer, which made her feel like she was giving herself to God. If God wanted her to move on and give herself to heaven, then that was his decision and she had to move on to the next chapter of her life.